Hey everyone, Dylan here, and welcome to the Raw review for last night's episode of March the 3rd, 2025. That's right, we are in March somehow. Alright, the show starts off by showing the arena for WrestleMania. I think it's in like Las Vegas or something like that. But then they transition to the arena that they're at tonight in Buffalo, New York. And then they do a recap package for the Elimination Chamber, which, by the way, I'm not going to mention anything they showed. If you want a little review of it, I did the review. But other than the cheap plug I just gave, that's all you're going to get about the actual show. Commentary comments on it and then brings it around to the show for the evening. Everyone arrives to the show, and including CM Punk, who arrives in a big truck. I thought it was The Rock, to be honest. But just a little spoiler for this show, nothing that happened in the main event will be mentioned tonight except like, oh hey, this happened. But yeah, CM Punk arrives in this big old truck, and they show him arriving to the arena and then comes out to the ring. When he gets out there, he tips over the commentary table and the Prime bottles, which makes me laugh. He gets on top of the announce table. I meant to say, like, tips over the Raw branding thing on it. I don't know how else to describe it, but he pushes that off. And then he gets on top of the table and does a little pipe bomb real quick. That's right, he has a work shoot promo where he asks the crowd who do they want him to talk about tonight. After the crowd kind of doesn't really say a name, I don't think, either that or it's like a mixed name, so he couldn't make one out. He asks Pat McAfee, who says The Rock. He ends up cutting a freaking ravishing promo on The Rock. Basically, he calls him a bald fraud. He makes fun of him for being a part-timer, and this work shoot was so good. I cannot paraphrase it even correctly because it sounds so boring how I say it, but just go out of your way to watch this work shoot. It's pretty good. But yeah, he calls out the People's title and how gimmicky it was. And then he transitions into talking about Cena and how everybody can finally see through his fraud, how he's been saying for years that the whole hustle, loyalty, and respect thing is bullshit. He's mad at him for stealing the main event from him, and he questions why that he gave up all the hustle, loyalty, and respect garbage finally, and why he ended up turning on the fans. He says that eventually he's going to get his hands on both of them bald frauds, and they're going to wish that he didn't. After that, he calls out Seth and says that for Rollins, he'll put him in a wheelchair if his wife doesn't get between them first or something to that extent. This cues out Rollins to come out, and Punk ain't waiting for him to come out to the ring. He rushes him as he's on the entrance ramp. They have a big brawl, and as they're brawling, agents separate them. They go back and forth on this brawl. They do the thing like, oh, they're brawling. Ooh, the agents pull them back. Ooh, they're brawling in this area. Ooh, the agents pull them back. I love this brawl. It was beautiful. It got to the point ultimately where Seth had to be pulled off of Punk and Punk had to be pinned down just to separate them. I think eventually, because these brawls keep on happening week to week, it would make sense for this to transition into like the police actually coming back out and what have you. Because, I mean, they keep on having these brawls that aren't supposed to happen in kayfabe, so why don't just bring out a taser and just say, get. Anyway, they did everything possible to get at each other throughout this until Rollins was pulled up the entryway, and then we go to a commercial break. When we come back, they mentioned the heel turn for the second time. Oops, spoilers. Whose heel turn? You'll have to either watch my review or watch Elimination Chamber to figure that out. And then they recap the brawl that just happened. Commentary transitions to talking about the women's tag team title match they had last week on Raw, review to come out soon. Then we see JD in their clubhouse where Liv says that she's not worried about the tag team division because she has beaten everybody once and she can do it again. She's very narcissistic during all this. Also, she says that Raquel needs to go after the women's IC title, which Raquel agrees with. There's an intentional awkward pause for a second, and then they ask Finn if he's okay. It zooms over to the couch where he's just sitting down, and he says, oh, I'm fine. And he's excited for Liv, even if she did lose at the Chamber. Unlike Dom and Carlito, who got embarrassed by Braun last week, that's kind of how he said it too. They go back and forth about that until Finn says that he's going to deal with Braun later on tonight. After he leaves, the little Clubhouse. I had to think of what it was called. Dom asks about the whole Jade thing, and Liv says that she doesn't know what happened. Like she said, Raquel and her didn't do a single thing. But it's about her and Raquel tonight, so she doesn't care anymore about it, and she's off it. After that, we get Otis versus Gunter, who... Gunter, by the way, is who, cuts a savage promo on his way to the ring, building up Otis and immediately chopping him down, saying that he's just a people pleaser, and just like Jey Uso, he doesn't even belong in the sacred ring with Gunter. He embarrasses Otis for a second, and he says that Otis could have been great if he has self-respect. He gets into the ring, and he pretends to start to say something, but it was just a distraction. He big boots Otis to begin the match. It was a great match, honestly. Not a barn burner as it could have been, but it was still a good showcase. If they ever wanted to showcase Otis off, this would be a good match for that. Unfortunately, Gunter wins after he power bombs Otis, and I think he just hooks him, but he gets the pin on him. After he wins, he applies a sleeper hold, or attempts to, but Tozawa jumps on his back that stops him temporarily. He ends up powerbombing Tozawa onto Otis and attempts to powerbomb Otis onto Tozawa, but Jay comes out and Wrestling Logic says when music hits, you have to stop. They brawl for a bit, and it ends with Jay end up spearing Gunter, and he poses with the title, which, oh no, the wrestling curse of if you pose with the title before your big match, you're going to end up losing. No, don't do that, Jay. He's probably still going to win, so I'm just being cynical. Alright, he tries to yeet on one of the turnbuckles, but A-Town Down Under jump him from behind, and they try their finisher, but Jay ducks it, ends up getting the best of them for a bit, and then spears them, and he clears the ring. As he's hyped, he goes to the side that's away from the ramp and goes yeah, ooh, whatever, bounces off the ropes, and then Gunter applies a sleeper to him and makes him pass out in the middle of the ring. He poses with the title over defeated Jay to end the segment. So, right, if we get 2 title poses, does that mean they're both cursed, so technically nobody wins the title? Which means Gunter would still retain, so that logic doesn't work out. After that, commentary then transitions into talking about the Women's Championship match later on tonight, sends it to a hype package for them. They have side-by-side walkouts for the other Women's Championship tonight because Ivy and Lyra Valkyria are having a match coming up. Right before that happens, though, Kathy Kelly interviews AJ Styles asking him about how he feels, what happened at the Chamber. He tries to give his take on it, but a little bit through it. Cross comes up behind him, does the arms over the shoulder hug thing like they're friends, but Styles pulls him off of him. He tries to play a devil's advocate to AJ, but AJ says that he isn't going to have any of that. He knows better. But next week, he calls out the Paul brother at Madison Square Garden's show for what happened. During his promo, just a little note for me, he casually mentions Evil Ways and me being a massive mark, specifically for TNA in 2010 era. That made me flip. I really want to hear Evil Ways played on a WWE programming, maybe even Get Ready to Fly, but you know what? That's just me. Alright, we finally go to the match where the whole story of the match is Lyra getting her leg picked over, so that way she can't hit Nightwing, her finish. It doesn't matter, though, because she ends up hitting Nightwing, her finish. As she's getting her leg picked over, Ivy puts her in a sick-looking ankle lock that literally bends her ankle towards her kneecap. It made me cringe a little bit. Honestly, I was hoping that she would put the grapevine on and win that way, but you know what? It's all good. After that match, we get a recap of the brawl that happened earlier tonight, and then we go backstage where Seth was asked a question. I think it was related to that, but he doesn't have time to answer it because he sees Brawl and he sees Punk, they brawl, and that sends us to ad. We come back from ad. Seth and Pierce are talking near his bus, and after they bicker for a little bit, Pierce says that next week it'll be Punk versus Rollins in a steel cage match to end all this. We then get a promo in ring from Kaiser about his win last week over Penta. He demands gratitude for it. He says that after last week, he took the attention away from Penta and back to him, the man who deserves all the attention. he hypes himself up like that for a little bit and then tells Penta if he thinks that they have unfinished business, then Penta may want to reconsider this because he will make him understand what fear means. This immediately brings out Penta, and then we get a brawl with him and Kaiser. It's like a 2-second one, though. Basically, Penta beats him up, throws him outside, dives on him, goes into the ring, does the Zero Miedo thing, and then he celebrates to end it. After that, Kathy Kelly interviews Bianca about the chamber. She asks her basically about the whole Jade situation, and Bianca says respectfully she doesn't want to talk about it until she talks to Jade and Naomi separately. Her focus tonight is to figure out who she's facing at the at WrestleMania. I still can't believe Mania is literally the next pay-per-view. I'm so hyped. Less than a month away. Oh, God. Anyway, almost spoiled something. Anyway, after ads, we get a video where Chad Gable's looking for someone. It's like a pre-recorded video. And then you see this old man find Chad Gable. And he tells him to take the box, but before he does, he wants money for it. After Chad gives him like $500 or something like that, he gets the box that has power beyond his understanding. And that's where we end that segment. I'll be honest, if this leads into Vampiro somehow like being shown, I will be so hyped. After that, we get a rematch between the Viking Raiders and American Made. Is it American Made? Yeah, American Made for the World Tag Team Championships, where the Creed brothers actually lose this time, relatively speaking, clean, and it's a fair match. War Raiders beat the shit out of them and win it with the War Machine. After this, they show the replay of the unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber. Watch my review. And then they give kayfabe medical update on Sammy. After that, we have a promo of the LWO talking about how the New Day should have finished what they tried to do on all of them, because next week, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio are going to beat them up and get even. They show Rhea and Io getting ready for their match. Then after ad, Finn's in the ring and Breaker's in the crowd area, promo area. He talks to Breaker, saying that the only reason that he's still champion is because the Judgment Day lets him be. Breaker says that he's the champ because he has that dog in him, and he beat the Judgment Day. That set Finn off, and he said that he could take that title from him anytime that he wants, and that when they step foot in the ring together, he will take that title from him. He calls Braun like too scared to step in the ring with him, stuff like that, to antagonize him. That sets Breaker off. He ends up coming down to the ring. Carlito and Dom try to jump him, but he saw that plane coming, and then he takes him out. He goes to the ring, but Finn catches him before he gets up with a sling breaker to gain advantage for a second. But it's not long enough because Breaker ends up military pressing Finn. Finn takes a spear, or almost takes a spear, but Dom pulls him out of the ring as he's standing to save him. Like, Breaker runs down, tries to go after them, but they're at the top of the ramp, so he didn't want to waste that energy, because he just remembered that Carlito came out of the Timekeeper's area. He runs over to him, spears him, then gets back into the ring, and that's how we end that segment. Commentary shows what happened at the end of the Elimination Chamber, and I didn't write it down every time, but I just want you to know there was like, I wrote down 20 times, but zero exaggeration. It was like 7 or 8 times they showed this one thing. I get it, it's the main talking point. They plug next week's Raw. Then Jay and AA have a promo where Otis thanks Jay for having his back. Jay says not a problem. They dap each other up. Then Kathy Kelly asks him if Gunter having the advantage makes him question himself. He still questions if he can do it after tonight. It woken a beast in him, something to the extent of that. And at Mania, he's going to crash out on Gunter. So, in other words, he doesn't question it anymore. AKA the same thing he said like last week or the week before or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, he's ready. Yeet and all that stuff. Alright, we get the main event with the women's World Heavyweight Championship on the line between the challenger, Io, and Rhea Ripley, the champion, with Bianca on commentary. Well, say on commentary, but she's just sitting at ringside. Outcome of the match goes how you think it would, where Rhea gets in Bianca's face halfway through the match, and then later on, she goes for Riptide off the top, and then says, "See you at Mania," and she hits the Riptide 1, 2, 3. Except, psych? Io reversed the Riptide into a Frankensteiner. She goes for an over-the-moon moonsault and wins with it. I hope this is more than just like a week-long reign or a reign until Mania, because she deserves that freaking title and she deserves to have it as long as possible, in my opinion. But I'm just excited. Fresh new face, fresh new champion. That works in my favor. We end the show with her celebrating. Rhea's outside on the ring calling herself stupid. And I think she was blaming Bianca too, but I don't know. She said a lot of words, so we couldn't really pick it up. Anyway, sick-ass ending to this Raw. It's an alright Raw, you know, it's pretty stellar. You can't have everything be like Elimination Chamber. It's a good way to build your Raw talent. I can't wait till SmackDown happens. Holy shit, this is going to be exciting to see where this goes. Anyway, speaking of where this goes, I have a couple of Catch Me Up reviews. I have last week's Raw coming up. I have, what's that other show? The Royal Rumble. That's right, I didn't do this year's Royal Rumble. It just dawned on me in the process of, like, looking through these reviews. So that'll come up not this week, but this weekend. It'll come up Saturday, that's right. So, I just uploaded the Elimination Chamber. If you want to watch that, shit, I got reviews between here, there, and everywhere. If you just want to look around the channel, maybe subscribe if you enjoyed this content, I'd appreciate your subscription. But anyway, I'll see y'all in a later video.